It started on a Sunday, at a brunch I didn't even want to go to. His mother had planned it, like she always did, with her perfect napkins and her too sweet smile. I showed up early, helped slice fruit, poured orange juice, acted polite. That's what you do when you marry into a family like his. You play your part. We were sitting outside, warm sun, clinking glasses, polite laughter. His brother made a joke about how I always overcooked pasta. His mother added, "We're just trying to be nice, including you. Don't think you matter." She said it while cutting into her croissant, like it was nothing. Just words, like she didn't mean anything by them. Everyone laughed. I didn't. I looked at my husband. He was sipping coffee, eyes on the table, like he didn't hear it. Like I wasn't even sitting next to him. He didn't say a word. Not then, not later. Not when we got in the car. Not even when I asked him directly, "Did you hear what your mother said to me?" He shrugged. She didn't mean it like that. Don't take it personally. But I did. I had to. Because that wasn't the first time. Not really. I just hadn't let myself notice before. The small digs, the backhanded comments, the way she always introduced me as his wife instead of by name, the way he never corrected her. That brunch made something snap. Not loud, not sudden, just a quiet click in my head, like a door closing. I smiled through the rest of it. I passed the butter, poured more juice, said thank you for the food. But I wasn't really there anymore. Something in me had stepped back. Watching. I watched how he let them interrupt me, how they talked around me, how no one noticed when I stopped speaking. I realized that I wasn't part of that family. I was just allowed to sit near it, if I stayed quiet enough. That night, lying next to him, I stared at the ceiling. I remembered how he used to stand up for me. Or maybe he never did, and I just imagined it. Maybe I had wanted to believe he was different, that he'd protect me, that we were a team. But he wasn't my team. Not at brunch. Not anymore. And the thing is, it wasn't just what his mother said. It was how comfortable she felt saying it. In front of everyone, knowing no one would stop her. That's what changed everything. Because I stopped pretending after that. I stopped trusting him. I stopped assuming I was safe. I didn't say anything, not yet. But I began to listen more carefully. To remember the small things. To check the locks, the passwords, the files. Because I had a feeling that if I kept digging, I'd find out the brunch wasn't the start of something. It was the middle. After that brunch, I started paying attention. Not because I wanted to, but because something felt different. Off. It was in the little things. At first, I thought maybe I was being paranoid. But then small things kept piling up, and they stopped feeling small. One morning, I tried logging into our bank account. The password didn't work. I tried the old one again, then checked my notes. Still nothing. When I asked him about it, he said, "Oh, I had to change it. I forgot to tell you." He smiled, kissed my forehead, and handed me a new password like it was no big deal. But it was the way he said it, like he was used to handling things without me. Later that week, I opened the drawer where we kept our important papers. I wasn't even looking for anything specific, just sorting through old bills and receipts. That's when I saw the deed to the house. I knew it by the folder, the label. I remembered signing it, but now only his name was on it. I stared at it for a long time, like the paper might change if I looked hard enough. When I asked, he said, "It's easier for taxes this way." I didn't argue. I just nodded. But I took a photo with my phone when he left the room. At night, I'd sometimes wake up and hear whispers. Quiet ones, just outside our bedroom door. His voice. His mother's voice. I'd pretend to be asleep, heart racing. Once I heard her say, "She won't see it coming." Another time, just laughter. Soft, mean laughter. When I asked what they'd been talking about in the morning, he said, "Oh, just something about the garage door." Always something small. Always something that didn't matter. But I knew it wasn't the truth. I stopped bringing things up. I watched instead. I wrote things down. I saved screenshots. I backed up emails. And I waited. It's strange how easy it is to miss things when you're happy, or when you think you're supposed to be. I used to think love meant not doubting someone. Now I think love doesn't mean ignoring the things that feel wrong. One afternoon, I checked the shared calendar we always use. My name was gone. The appointments I added were gone. Only his meetings remained. Dinners with his mother. Phone calls. But nothing about me. That was when I knew for sure. It wasn't just me being forgotten. It was me being removed. Piece by piece, I was being erased. And I hadn't even noticed it starting. It was just a regular afternoon. I decided to clean the guest room. We had company coming the next week, and I wanted to get ahead. The room always smelled a little dusty, like no one ever really used it, even though his mother stayed there sometime. I started with the closet, then moved to the drawers in the old wooden dresser. Most were empty. One had extra bed sheets, another had a few books no one read. Then I opened the bottom drawer. It stopped halfway, like something was blocking it. I pulled harder. The back felt strange, too shallow. I reached inside and knocked lightly. It sounded hollow. I took a screwdriver from the kitchen and carefully loosened the panel at the back of the drawer. It popped out easily. Behind it was a folder, thick and sealed. No dust. No label. I don't know why, but I opened it. The first page was a court document, a name I didn't recognize at the top, but my husband's name was on it too. It was about a broken engagement from years ago. I flipped through quickly, legal words, dates, signatures. Then another paper, a restraining order. Same name, same man I married. My stomach turned. There was a photo clipped to one page. A woman with short dark hair, standing by a tree. She looked like someone I might have passed on the street and never noticed. Under the photo was a note in neat handwriting. 3 words. She disappeared too. That was it. No explanation. No signature. Just those words. I stared at them, my hand frozen on the edge of the paper. The room felt colder suddenly. My ears rang. I closed the folder and held it to my chest, like it might vanish if I let go. I sat on the edge of the guest bed for a long time. The quiet in the house felt heavy. Every sound, the clock ticking, the wind against the window, seemed too loud. I didn't ask him about it. I didn't say anything at all. I put everything back exactly how I found it. I slid the folder into my bag when no one was looking. Later that night, I hid it under a pile of winter clothes in the back of my closet. But everything felt different after that. Not just wrong, dangerous. There had been another woman, and she had needed a restraining order. And now no one talked about her, not even once. She disappeared too. I couldn't stop hearing it in my head. It happened during a dinner at their house. It was just the 4 of us, me, my husband, his brother, and his mother. The food was already on the table when we arrived. Wine glasses were full, candles were lit. Everything looked normal, like always. She drank more than usual that night. Glass after glass, laughing too loud, forgetting things she'd already said. Her words got slower, heavier. At first, it was just annoying. Then it turned into something else. She started talking about marriage. Not in a sweet way, more like a test. She looked right at me while cutting her meat and said, "You know, some women just weren't strong enough to last in this family." The room went quiet. Her son said nothing. No one did. I forced a smile, waiting for her to move on, to laugh and say it was a joke. She didn't. She leaned closer to her plate, like telling me a secret, and said, "But we liked you. You were easy to fold." My hands froze on my fork. My face stayed calm, but my chest tightened. Easy to fold. Like I was something to be bent, shaped, used. She smiled after she said it, like it was a compliment. No one stopped her. Not my husband. Not his brother. They just kept eating. That was the moment I stopped believing this was just about her not liking me. It was never about approval. It was about power. She didn't hate me. She controlled me. And I let her. That one sentence stayed in my mind long after dinner. I played it again and again. You were easy to fold. How many times had I stayed quiet to keep the peace? How many times had I bent myself to fit into their world? This wasn't about being part of a family. It was about staying small enough to not be a problem. After that night, I stopped speaking so freely around her. I started listening more, watching more. Every word she said felt like something else now, like a message I hadn't understood before. She didn't mean to say it, but she did. And now I knew. His aunt came by one afternoon with a small box of old books. She said she was cleaning out her garage and thought I might want some. I thanked her and put the box in the living room. I didn't look through it right away. Later that night, while my husband was in the shower, I opened one of the books. A photo slipped out from between the pages and floated to the floor. It was old, a little faded. A group of people smiling at a party. I turned it over. One name was written on the back, Eva. One face in the photo had been circled with blue pen. I looked at the face again. A woman with light brown hair, standing close to my husband. She looked happy, comfortable, like she belonged. The name Eva sounded familiar. I had heard it once, early in our relationship, when his mother mentioned someone from his college days. Just a passing comment. That was back when he was with Eva. She said it like it didn't matter. Like Eva had been just another girlfriend. But something about the photo felt strange. I asked his aunt casually the next day, "Was Eva just a friend?" She paused for a moment, then nodded. "Yes, college days. Long time ago." Her smile was quick and thin. Still, something felt off. I searched our drawer of old papers that night. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for. And then I found it. A wedding announcement from years ago, folded into an envelope. 2 names. His and Eva's. Not a girlfriend. A wife. No one had ever told me. It hit me like cold water. I had married a man who had already been married once, and no one thought I needed to know. They'd erased her from the story. Pretended she didn't exist. But someone had circled her face. Someone had kept that photo. I held it in my hand for a long time. I thought about the silence, about how easy it had been for them to pretend she was never real. Now I knew her name, and I knew they didn't want me to. I found her number online, buried deep in a forum that hadn't been updated in years. A name matched the one I saw on the back of the photo, Eva's sister. I stared at the number for hours before dialing. I wasn't even sure what I'd say if she picked up. When she answered, her voice was quiet, like she didn't trust the line. I said my name. Told her I was married to him. There was a long pause. Then she asked, "Why are you calling me?" I said, "I found a photo. I found her name. No one told me." Her voice changed. Slower. Careful. She asked me where I lived. I told her. Another pause. "I don't know how much you know," she said, "but if you care about your life, you should leave." I didn't say anything. She kept going. Eva was strong. Smart. Not the type to fall apart. But they got in her head. His mother, him, all of them. They made her question herself every single day. I held the phone tighter. My chest ached. She begged for a divorce, she said. Begged. She wasn't allowed to leave until she signed everything away. They said it would be cleaner that way. Quiet. Private. I asked, "What happened after?" "She vanished," she said. "For 6 months. No calls. No messages. Nothing. We filed reports. No one cared. When she finally came back, she didn't speak. Not to us. Not to anyone." I swallowed hard. "Where is she now?" "She moved far away," the sister said. "She doesn't talk about it. She barely talks at all. She's not the same. They broke her." The line was quiet after that. Then she added, "They want women who disappear quietly. That's the goal. They don't like noise. If you're calling me, it means you've already seen too much. Don't wait." I thanked her, but my hands were shaking. I ended the call and sat alone in the kitchen. The lights were off. The room felt smaller than before. Now I knew. Everything I felt wasn't just in my head. They had done it before. And I was next. I waited until the house was quiet. He was reading in the living room, calm as ever. I stood in front of him and asked straight out, "Why didn't you tell me about Eva?" He didn't even blink. He closed the book slowly and looked up at me. "You've been busy digging, haven't you?" I didn't answer. I just stared. Then he smiled, but it wasn't kind. "You think you're special," he said. "You were never the wife. You were the placeholder." His voice didn't even rise. It was flat, empty. I felt something crack inside me. "What does that mean?" I asked. He stood up, walked to the desk, and pulled out a folder. He handed it to me like he was handing over a receipt. "Read the prenup again. Carefully this time." I opened it. The same document I'd signed before the wedding. Except now I saw lines I hadn't noticed before. A section buried in the back, with tiny text. Words about financial separation, future partners, control of shared property. Legal words that didn't make sense when I first read them. Now they did. He pointed to one clause. "That's the exit. I always had it ready." I looked at him. "So this was a plan?" He nodded. "Of course it was. You fit the role. Quiet. Easy to manage. Just like they wanted." My hands started shaking. "There's money in your name I don't know about, isn't there?" He laughed, soft and cold. "Of course. You think I'd put everything where you could touch it." I took a step back. The room felt colder, darker. "Why marry me at all?" He shrugged. "My mother liked you enough, and it kept things neat. No questions." I looked at him, really looked, and saw someone I didn't recognize. There was no kindness, no guilt, just someone waiting for me to leave quietly. That's when I realized this wasn't a fight. It was a trap, and I had walked into it with my eyes closed. His mother wasn't home that afternoon. She had gone to a garden club meeting, the one she never missed. I told her I'd drop off some papers she had asked for, and let myself in. She trusted me to come and go, to smile and play nice. So I did. I went straight to her office. It was neat, cold, and smelled like furniture polish. Everything had its place. A row of books lined one shelf. Drawers were locked, but I found the spare key in a teacup. She always kept it there, like she thought no one would ever look. The bottom drawer was stiff. I opened it and saw a thick black binder. No dust on it. It looked new. The label on the spine said Exit Strategy. I opened it. The first page had a list. Behavior to document. Emotional shifts, financial irresponsibility, social withdrawal. Next to each were notes about what to say and how to say it. The next section showed steps to separate bank accounts, move assets, and claim mental instability. It was written like instructions. Each tab had more. One was labeled medical. Inside were blank mental health evaluations, with dates penciled in and checkboxes already filled. Another had scripts, actual scripts, for how to speak to lawyers, how to suggest the wife was unstable, how to frame it all as concern. There was even a list of therapists known to give easy diagnoses, marked with stars. One tab was labeled Emergency Plan. It included sample messages to send to friends, neighbors, and even church groups. Things like, "We're heartbroken but trying our best," and "She's in a place where she can get help." There were no names, but there didn't have to be. I knew what I was looking at. It wasn't just about removing someone from the family. It was about destroying them on paper first, making them look broken, selfish, lost, so that no one would believe them if they ever tried to speak. I sat there for a long time, just staring at the pages. My hands didn't shake. Not this time. I closed the binder carefully, wiped the edges with my sleeve, and returned everything the way I found it. Then I walked out, locked the door, and smiled at the neighbor on the porch. No one would ever believe a family like this would do something like that. But now I had proof. I didn't cry after I left her office. I didn't scream or throw anything. I just went home, sat on the couch, and made a plan. They thought I'd fall apart. They expected silence. But I had seen enough. I knew what they were. And I wasn't going to leave quietly. That night, while he was asleep, I made copies of everything. I scanned the binder pages, saved them to a hidden drive, and uploaded them to a secure folder. I added passwords. I sent copies to an old email I hadn't used in years, one only I knew about. Then I checked the house for cameras, mics, anything they might have planted. I started talking less and watching more. At dinner, I smiled. I asked his mother how her day was. I passed the salt. I laughed when I needed to. I looked calm. I acted like I had given up. But I was always listening. I placed a recorder in my purse, one in the car, one near the phone. I didn't wait for them to slip up. I invited them to. I gave them little pieces of myself to play with, just to see what they'd say. And they talked. Oh, they talked. His mother once said, "She's almost ready to break." I kept that file. I also started writing everything down. Dates. Words. What they wore. Where we were. Who said what. I treated it like a job. Every detail mattered. Then I reached out to lawyers. Not one, but 3. I told them I was gathering information and asked for quiet advice. I asked what proof they'd need to challenge a prenup. I asked what counted as emotional abuse. I didn't use my name in emails. I used a friend's. I told no one. I checked his accounts. I tracked the money. I noted every transfer, every hidden purchase. I made a list of things I'd need to take if I had to leave fast. I put cash in an envelope and hid it inside a coat I never wore. And every night, I kissed him goodnight like nothing had changed. He had no idea. None of them did. Because they thought I was still the same woman who sat at brunch and stayed quiet. They didn't know that version of me was gone. Now I wasn't just watching. I was waiting. The brunch was just like the first one. Same table, same chairs, same perfect plates. His mother wore pearls again. The napkins were folded the same way. Everyone smiled, like nothing had ever happened. I wore a light dress and brought muffin. I greeted everyone with a soft voice and a calm face. I let them believe I was still playing along. No one asked questions. No one noticed the folder in my bag. We ate quietly. Small talk, weather, garden plan. His mother joked about something I had cooked last week. His brother laughed. My husband looked relaxed, proud even. I waited until everyone had food on their plates. Then I opened my bag and pulled out the folder. I didn't rush. I didn't look angry. I just set it on the table. They all paused. I opened it and started laying things out. First, the bank statements. Then the pages from her office. The notes. The recordings. I printed every word they thought I didn't hear. I didn't explain. I didn't shout. I didn't ask for answers. I just placed the proof in front of them, one by one, like napkins being set before a meal. They stared at the pages. No one moved. I stood up, smoothed my dress, looked at each of them. Then I said, "You can keep pretending, but I won't." And I left. I didn't take the folder. I didn't look back. I walked out into the sun, past the car, past the garden she was so proud of. My hands were steady. My steps were quiet. I knew they wouldn't call out after me. What could they say? Everything they had hidden was now on the table, and I wasn't part of their story anymore. I've told you everything. Now I want to hear from you. If you were in my place, would you have walked out like I did, or stayed and tried to take them down from the inside? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm honestly curious. And if this kind of story kept you hooked, go ahead and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stay with me for the next one. There's always more.